Well, my name is Eric Jacobson. Currently, I am the Chief Operating Officer and Historian for the Battle of Franklin Trust, which manages Carnton as well as the Carter House. So this has really become my life history, talking about it every day, and writing is something that I've been involved with or been doing for some time. So I guess I've kind of got the writing bug. The first book is really just a detailed study of what happens here in Middle Tennessee in the fall of 1864, the battles of Spring Hill and Franklin in particular. I don't focus on Nashville, although it's part of the same campaign. I chose to focus on what I believe are the two real seminal events of the campaign. It's sort of a 24-hour running confrontation between these two armies, beginning at Spring Hill and then ultimately culminating at Franklin. I believe that this was one of the greatest untold stories of the war. Everybody knew about Gettysburg and Vicksburg and Shiloh, or at least had heard them, and Lee and Grant and all those characters. And there was, for some reason, Franklin had been forgotten, and I thought that was, quite honestly, it was a travesty. I thought what had happened to the battlefield was a travesty. There were shining examples of how history is forgotten and why a lot of people aren't interested in history, because it just gets obliterated over time. And it's just a great story. I mean, two great armies that had been fighting one another since the beginning of the war, 60,000 men come pouring through a community that at the time was only 750. It's a very small town. And this little town woke up on December 1st, 1864 to a scene that was straight out of the movies or out of someone's fiery imagination. There were 10,000 casualties just carpeting the whole south edge of town. And the armies went on, but the town had to figure out how to get through it. And I thought all of that deserved to be told. And I think the strength of the book has proven that there is a great interest in this story, or at least something new, not the same old stuff. Baptism of Fire is something that really was born out of For Cause and for Country. It's about three U.S. units that fought at Franklin. They were obviously at Spring Hill. I'd uncovered a lot of material about them working on the first book, and what made them unique is these two armies were veterans. I mean, they were solidly veterans, guys who'd been in really almost since the beginning of the war. But these three units, two from Ohio and one from Missouri, were new. They'd never been in combat. In fact, two of the units get dropped into the U.S. Army about 48 hours before the Battle of Franklin. Rich and I, who worked on the first book, it seemed like sort of the natural progression. What do we want to do? And we thought, well, if no one writes about these guys, if we don't, no one's ever going to. So we tackled the project, and it's a totally different book. The first one is a campaign study. It's military history, and the characters that become prominent in the first book are your major players, commanding generals, people of some elevation. This is a book about the guys down at the bottom, the names nobody knows. But the truth of the matter is, those are the people who make all this stuff happen. They're the unknown characters, and truthfully, some of them are actually quite amusing and interesting, and they come from all walks of life. And I think what came out of it, and it ended up in the the bit that's on the back of the book. That term "band of brothers" is very apt, and it doesn't matter what war it is. You take a group of people who have to subsist in an environment like that and then get thrown into combat. They do become, the only thing that is a greater bond is blood. They love each other. Sometimes they don't like each other much at all, but they find themselves bonded together by this, awful of human experience is war. And like men from all different wars and all different times, they did their bit, they did their part, and they went home. And they had to try and get on with their lives. So it is, I think it's really an extension of the first book, although it's completely different. And truthfully, because I was dealing with so many different characters, it was actually a lot more fun.